This episode of Pop Goes the Culture is brought to you by Amanda Hoffman. Thanks for being a Pop Goes the Culture Patreon contributor. To get your name at the top of a Pop Goes the Culture episode, become a Patreon subscriber for just $4.99 a month. It's easy. By doing so, you'll help us keep Pop Goes the Culture coming to you every day. And as a thank you, we'll put your name at the top of a Pop Goes the Culture episode in the future. Thanks to all my Patreon contributors. Hi, I'm David Levin, and welcome to another astonishing episode of Pop Goes the Culture, the behind-the-scenes TV stories you wouldn't have known from the people who were there. In 1989, ABC's hit show, Perfect Strangers, spun off a sitcom that became just about as popular. Family Matters ran for 9 seasons, 8 on ABC, and then an additional season on CBS, one of the very few series that was given new life after being canceled by its original network. Family Matters was one of the flagships of ABC's TGIF lineup, originally revolving around the Winslows, a typical African-American family living in Chicago. That is, until the middle of season 1, when the next-door neighbor, Steve Urkel, was introduced. A nerdy preteen with a crush on the young Laura, Urkel was a breakout character. So popular, he eventually became the main focus of the show. My guest today, Jaleel White, who played Urkel from the age of 12 into his early 20s, began working as an actor at the age of 3, appearing in commercials including Jello pudding commercials with Bill Cosby. From there, he played Flip Wilson's son on Charlie and Company, made guest appearances on Mr. Belvedere and The Jeffersons, and he also played the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. In part 1 of my 7-part conversation with Jaleel, he talks about getting onto Family Matters and creating the iconic Urkel. What was it like to become famous in junior high? And what happened when Urkel finally hit puberty? What's going on in your life at the point when Family Matters sort of came along?
Family Matters started in 1989. We went from 1989 to 1998, 213 episodes, I think, 9 years. For some reason, that number like blows people away. Like they're like, "You were really on that long?" I was like, "Yeah, man, it was a while. The greater bulk of my life." But what was going on at the time when the show started? I was in the 7th grade. I was all of 5'2", wanting to be a high school basketball star. God saved me from my own desires and gave me this little show. I came in as a guest star. I think it was like episode 12. And it was a fun week. You know, it was supposed to be a week. That was it, a week gig. And a fraternity came to the taping that week and started chanting my character's names in between the scenes that I wasn't in. So it kind of rubbed some people the wrong way. I was completely flattered by it, didn't know what to expect, but I went back to school the next week and was basically called out of school and never went back to school again. Well, I would return to school again, but just never in the same fashion. And my life just, really honestly, it took off like a rocket.
Tell me the story of your audition.
The audition, funny. I had braces. A lot of people don't know that. I had braces when I was 12 years old, and they were clear braces. And when a black kid gets braces in Hollywood, the agents don't really want to send them out or be bothered with them too much. So I wasn't tripping because I wanted to play basketball or whatnot. But here, this audition came along for a nerd, and I did like to act, and my mother had just informed my agents too that I wouldn't be acting anymore, that I would be going to high school and being a normal kid, as they like to say, normal kid. What is a normal kid though?
What did they tell you about the part when you came in?
All they said was that it was for a nerd. That was it. So I really kind of got into it, and my mother dressed me up in high water pants, no suspenders yet. I owe all credit where credit is due. Our wardrobe designer just really took to the character and made the character aesthetically what we know it to be. But the glasses were my father's. They were. He's a dentist. He wore them to keep particles from flying into his eyes. That's why they were so big. And he was actually a procrastinator, and he was supposed to get me the glasses with the tape in the middle. And so just to show you how sometimes your own shortcomings can benefit you, because it seems like a more creative move when in actuality I was going for the go-to move. with the black glasses with the tape in the middle. So I had to wear my glasses, my dad's glasses, and I had a high-pitched voice anyway when I was younger, and I just squeaked it up a little bit. And I walked in as the character, and I walked out as the character. And I'd never done that before for an audition. At 12, I'd never done that before. I just said, I be the nerd, never let them meet Jaleel. And I got the job. But again, it was supposed to be a week gig, and it turned into a 9-year gig.
Okay, tell me about the first week and what it was like being on the set with these guys. If you could set up the show as it was prior to your entrance for the folks, it was and you can even talk about it being a spin-off of Perfect Strangers.
No, Family Matters was a spin-off of Perfect Strangers first, and it was the spin-off was intended to be for Jo Marie Peyton France, who was a regular on Perfect Strangers, and Reginald VelJohnson, who was hot off of Die Hard at the time, and it was supposed to be about a middle-class black family just living in Chicago, and ironically Thelma Hopkins was probably the most popular person on the show at that time too. So it was an ensemble. It was always supposed to be an ensemble, and even walking into it, seriously, I as an actor, as a young person, I never chased fame. My mother didn't chase fame, and that people will probably say, oh yeah, right, whatever. But no, we just come from a different generation of actors where my mom thought this would be a good way to raise money for me to go to college. So even being on the set that week, being on the set weeks thereafter, I'd say it took us about 2 seasons of doing the show before we realized we had a problem walking through Walmart. And that's the honest truth. That's the honest truth. So I think sometimes, George Orwell says ignorance is bliss. In this particular case, it definitely was, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going, but I started to figure out what I was doing.
You certainly didn't know that you were going to make the impression that you did.
No, not at all. Not at all.
First, walk me through when you got the call to come back. Hey, we want Steve back.
Right. I'm at school, as like I said, 7th grade in class. I get a phone call from the office, and it's my mother telling me that they want you back this week, so get some homework from your teachers. And that's it.
Wow.
Go back to studio set tomorrow, go to studio school the next day, and bye-bye to school.
Wow. Well, how did your friends react when this started to happen?
That was interesting. That was very interesting. Suddenly you become Mr. Popular on campus with people who you weren't even popular with. So that starts to play with your mind as a young person, because you're starting to see glimpses of phony. At that age also, pretty much people could come and ask me right off the streets, do the character. I was like, I was like a gumball machine, just stick a quarter in me and twist, and boom, I'd give it to you, but, because I was excited also. And then I got to an age also, I was like, hey, I'm not Mickey Mouse, it's a pleasure to meet you, but I do that on the set. But in the early going especially, it was like, no, wind him up, he'll do it for you.
Did it hurt your voice?
What was funny is when I started to go through puberty, 15 and 16, I started having issues with the voice. And they started getting notes from ABC that we're having a difficult time understanding him. And I panicked.
That's it for now. Next time, Jaleel White tells us more about his panic over his changing voice. What happened to Family Matters when Urkel took off? How a pie fight let fly the tension on the set. What it was like for Jaleel playing multiple parts, Stefan, and of course Myrtle Urkel. His turn as Bruce Lee. All that. And what happens when a teenage sitcom star gets sick backstage. In the meantime, what's your favorite episode of Family Matters? Let us know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, don't miss a single episode of Pop Goes the Culture, the Boomer Tube, or Ask Them Yourself. Subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss an episode.